Nobody stood up to the arrogant judge until the maid's daughter faced him as a genius attorney. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get into today's story. It's a story about power, judgment, and an unexpected twist that no one saw coming. The courtroom was buzzing with tension, everyone waiting for the judge to make his final ruling. The case had been dragging on for weeks, with no clear resolution in sight. At the front of the room sat Judge Nathaniel Wright, a man known for his sharp tongue and even sharper sense of superiority. His robes hung like a cloak of authority, and his gavel struck with a finality that sent shivers through everyone present. As the trial progressed, it became clear that Judge Wright wasn't just issuing rulings. He was making it his mission to dominate the room. His cutting remarks were aimed at anyone who dared to question him, and his arrogance had become the talk of the legal community. But there was one person in the room who wasn't afraid of him: Lily, the daughter of the maid. She had been sitting quietly at the back of the courtroom, her eyes wide with curiosity, her heart racing with anxiety. No one had expected her to be there. She was just a maid's daughter, after all, with no legal background or experience. But Lily had something that no one in that room could have anticipated: a genius mind for law. It all began when Lily's mother, a quiet and humble woman, had been called in as a witness for the defense. She had been cleaning the courthouse when the case started, and she had overheard something that didn't sit right with her. She had heard Judge Wright make a statement that contradicted the evidence, but she was too afraid to speak up. That was until Lily came into the picture. Lily had grown up listening to her mother's stories about the courthouse, and over the years, she had learned more about the law than most people realized. When her mother mentioned the inconsistency in the judge's statement, Lily's curiosity got the better of her. She quietly slipped into the courtroom and listened to the proceedings, her mind racing as she connected the dots between the facts and the judge's biased ruling. And then, in the middle of the trial, something unexpected happened. Judge Wright, in his usual fashion, belittled Lily's mother for speaking out of turn. He mocked her, saying, "You may clean the floors of this courthouse, but you'll never understand the law." The room fell silent, the tension palpable as everyone waited for the next move. But Lily, who had been silently observing from the back, stood up. Her voice, steady and clear, cut through the room. "Judge Wright, you're wrong," she said. The room gasped. Everyone turned to look at the young girl standing up to the powerful judge. Lily continued, "I've been listening to this case, and I've read the law surrounding it. You're overlooking a critical point." Judge Wright's face turned crimson with anger. He had never been challenged in his courtroom, especially not by someone like her. He sneered, "And what do you know, little girl? You should be at home, not in my courtroom." But Lily wasn't intimidated. With a calm yet unwavering voice, she explained the legal loophole that Judge Wright had missed. She had spent hours reading legal texts, comparing past cases, and understanding the law in ways that even the most seasoned attorneys in the room hadn't. Her words were sharp, logical, and undeniable. The judge, now visibly flustered, tried to brush her off, but the damage had been done. The courtroom was stunned. No one had ever expected this from a maid's daughter. Judge Wright, the powerful figure who had ruled the court with an iron fist, now found himself cornered by a young girl who had proven herself to be a legal genius. His arrogance had been his downfall, and Lily had just shown everyone that true power didn't come from status or title. It came from knowledge and courage. The trial was ultimately delayed for further review, and Lily's discovery led to the case being reopened with a fairer perspective. As the room emptied, Lily stood tall, her heart pounding with pride. She had not only stood up to the arrogant judge, but had also proven that anyone, regardless of their background, could challenge the system and make a difference. The courtroom had fallen into an eerie silence after Lily's bold stand. The once confident and imposing Judge Wright, who had ruled the room with his sharp gavel, now found himself uncomfortably perched in his seat, trying to compose himself. His face was flushed with anger, but his eyes betrayed the confusion he felt. This was no ordinary day in his courtroom, and certainly no ordinary challenge. Everyone in the room had turned to look at Lily, the maid's daughter, who had dared to question a man of such power. But there was no fear in her eyes. Instead, she stood tall, almost regal in her presence. She had just delivered a legal argument so strong, so well-reasoned, that even the experienced attorneys in the room had nothing to say in response. The tension was thick as the judge tried to regain control. "You," Judge Wright began, his voice shaky, "have no business here. You are not even a lawyer." Lily didn't flinch. She knew what she had to do. "I may not be a lawyer, but I understand the law." "And you," Judge Wright missed a critical detail. The room was dead quiet. The eyes of the court now all focused on Lily as she continued to explain the flaw in the case that had been so obvious to her, but had slipped by the trained eyes of the professionals in the room. She explained how the judge had failed to apply the correct precedent, how he had ignored vital case law, and how that had led to a miscarriage of justice. Her voice was calm, yet each word struck with precision. Her logic was flawless. The judge, unable to dispute her points, sat in stunned silence. He tried to muster a retort, but the room had already shifted. The power dynamics had changed. The attorneys who had once whispered amongst themselves now looked at each other in disbelief. The defendant's lawyer, a seasoned professional who had once considered this case a lost cause, now found himself reconsidering everything. Lily's intervention had turned the entire trial on its head. The judge, realizing the weight of his oversight, called for a recess. As the courtroom filed out, whispers filled the air. The world had seen a glimpse of something extraordinary. Lily, the maid's daughter, had not only stood up to the arrogant judge, but had proven herself to be a legal mind capable of bringing down even the most powerful figures. Outside the courtroom, as Lily walked beside her mother, her heart was racing. She could feel the weight of what she had just done. She hadn't just changed the course of the trial. She had made a statement to the world. In that moment, she realized something profound. The law, justice, and power were not just for the elite. Anyone, even someone like her, could have a place in this world if they had the courage to stand up and speak the truth. Her mother, who had always kept a quiet strength about her, looked at Lily with pride. "You did it, my daughter. You showed them all." Lily smiled, but her thoughts were already turning to what came next. She had sparked a revolution in that courtroom, but now she had to keep going. She had proven her worth, but this was just the beginning. The world was watching, and Lily was ready to change it. The courtroom had barely settled from the shockwave Lily had caused. The recess had given everyone a moment to breathe, but the atmosphere in the air was thick with anticipation. As Lily sat in the corner, her mother by her side, she could feel the weight of the moment. People were beginning to take notice. The quiet, timid maid's daughter had made her mark in the most unexpected of ways. As the doors to the courtroom opened again, Lily knew that the battle wasn't over yet. The judge had retreated to his chambers, no doubt wrestling with the humiliation of being outsmarted by someone of her social standing. She couldn't help but wonder how he would respond. Would he be humbled, or would his pride refuse to let him back down? As the gavel came down signaling the start of the session, the judge returned, his posture stiff and his face set in a mask of authority. But there was something different in the air now. The sharp edge of his arrogance had dulled, and for the first time in years, he seemed unsure of himself. Lily had not just exposed a mistake. She had shattered his perception of his own invincibility. He called for Lily to step forward, a slight hesitation in his voice that hadn't been there before. She rose, her heart pounding, but her steps steady and resolute. "Miss Lily," Judge Wright began, his voice not as commanding as it had been. "You've made your point. I'll admit, I made an error. But you have to understand, this is my courtroom. My decisions have weight." Lily wasn't intimidated. She had come this far, and she wasn't going to back down now. "Your Honor," she said, her voice clear, "the law doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the people, and it's meant to serve them, not the other way around." There was a murmur in the room. Even the seasoned attorneys who had doubted her at the beginning were nodding, some even silently acknowledging her courage. The judge's face darkened slightly, but he said nothing. He could not argue with the truth in her words. The case resumed, and this time, Lily's presence was not a mere formality. She wasn't just a bystander anymore. She was a force to be reckoned with. As the trial unfolded, Lily's insights and expertise proved invaluable. She spoke with such clarity and understanding that even the opposing counsel had to admit she was right. Her knowledge of the law was far beyond her years, and she had a unique ability to spot the smallest of inconsistencies, the tiniest details others might miss. The more she spoke, the more the room began to shift. Her words were not just respected, they were admired. Even the defense lawyer, once so confident in his case, found himself questioning his own strategy in light of Lily's revelations. The judge, now quiet, sat back in his chair. His once proud demeanor was replaced by a quiet respect. It was clear he wasn't used to being in this position. He had never had his authority questioned, let alone by someone so young, so overlooked. But here she was, and she was changing everything. As the final arguments were made, the room was silent. No one dared speak over Lily, for they all knew she had the truth on her side. The case was not just a victory for her, but a victory for justice itself. When the jury returned, they found in favor of the defendant, a decision that was praised by many in the legal community. As Lily stood in the courtroom, she realized something profound. She had done more than challenge a judge. She had set a new standard for what it meant to fight for justice, regardless of who you were or where you came from. Her journey had just begun, but she had already proven that one person, no matter how small or overlooked, could stand up to the powerful and win. As the weeks passed, Lily's name spread throughout the legal community. What had started as a bold act of defiance in a single courtroom had turned into a symbol of courage and brilliance that resonated far beyond the courthouse. People from all walks of life began to recognize the name of the young Maid's daughter who had stood up to an arrogant judge and proven that power wasn't only in the hands of the elite. Lily had been invited to legal seminars, her story was shared in law schools, and even seasoned lawyers were asking for her insights. But despite the praise and admiration, Lily remained humble. She hadn't done it for recognition. She had done it because it was the right thing to do. However, as her reputation grew, so did the pressure. There were many who were eager to see if she could replicate her success. She was no longer just the maid's daughter. She was a rising star in the legal world, and with that came high expectations. The next major case she was asked to work on was one that would test her abilities like never before. It was a class action lawsuit against a powerful corporation accused of exploiting low-income workers. The stakes were high, and the opposition was formidable. The lead attorney on the case was a prominent lawyer named James Carter, a man with decades of experience. He had heard about Lily's incredible performance in the courtroom and was both impressed and skeptical. He wasn't sure how a young girl, still in high school, could handle a case of this magnitude. Lily's mother, ever the supportive figure in her life, encouraged her to take the opportunity. "You've already proven yourself, Lily. Now it's time to show the world what you can do." And so, Lily joined the case. From the moment she stepped into the office, she knew this was different. The law firm was grand, the offices sleek and polished, with people in suits and ties bustling about. It was a world Lily had only seen from the outside, a world that now seemed to be embracing her. As the team discussed the details of the case, Lily listened intently, her mind already working through the complexities. She was younger than everyone else in the room, but she had something that none of them had, an unshakable determination to make things right. After the first few meetings, Lily realized that the case wasn't just about winning. It was about giving a voice to those who had been silenced for far too long. The workers who had been exploited were just like her mother, people who worked tirelessly but were never given the respect or fairness they deserved. Lily dove into the case, studying documents late into the night, finding patterns in the data that no one else had seen. She began to craft a strategy that would not only expose the corporation's wrongdoings, but also give the workers the justice they had been denied. Her approach was meticulous, and she presented her findings to James Carter and the other lawyers with the same confidence she had shown in the courtroom. At first, they were hesitant. They didn't think a young girl could understand the legal intricacies involved. But as Lily laid out her case, it became clear that they were wrong. She had an uncanny ability to read between the lines and connect dots that others overlooked. Her strategy was sound, and her passion was undeniable. As the trial began, Lily sat in the courtroom once more, but this time, it wasn't just her mother who was by her side. The entire legal team was behind her, recognizing her brilliance. The opposition, a team of corporate lawyers known for their ruthless tactics, was taken aback by Lily's poise and knowledge. They hadn't expected a high school student to be their biggest challenge. But Lily wasn't just a student. She was a force to be reckoned with. The case was intense, but with every argument Lily made, she dismantled the defense piece by piece. The judge, once again, seemed to be watching her closely, no longer dismissing her as just a child. In the end, the jury ruled in favor of the workers, awarding them compensation that would change their lives. As Lily walked out of the courtroom, she felt a sense of pride wash over her. She had proven that no matter where you came from, no matter your background, you could change the world if you had the courage to stand up for what was right. As Lily continued to rise in prominence, the challenges she faced became more intense, but so did her resolve. After her stunning success in the class action lawsuit, doors that had once been closed to her began to swing open. Her reputation as a brilliant, young legal mind spread like wildfire. Yet, despite the recognition and opportunities that came her way, Lily remained grounded, always reminding herself of her roots. She had not entered the world of law to seek fame or glory, but to ensure that justice was not a privilege reserved only for the powerful. But as her career flourished, her personal life started to feel the strain. The pressure was mounting. The more she achieved, the more expectations were placed on her. There were moments when she longed for the simplicity of her old life, when her biggest worry was whether her mother was well or whether she had enough time to study for an upcoming exam. Now, she was balancing high-profile cases, public appearances, and the weight of being an advocate for change. Despite the constant stream of media requests, legal debates, and public appearances, Lily never lost sight of why she started. Her mother remained her anchor, her steady voice of encouragement. One evening, after a particularly grueling case, Lily sat at the dinner table with her mother. The house, once quiet and humble, now felt more like a sanctuary than ever. Her mother placed a warm bowl of soup in front of her, and for a moment, Lily allowed herself to relax. "You've done amazing things, Lily," her mother said softly. "But remember, it's okay to take a step back and breathe. You don't have to save the world all at once." Lily smiled, grateful for the reminder. "I know, Mom. It's just hard sometimes. There's so much I want to do, and I don't want to disappoint anyone." Her mother reached out and gently patted her hand. "You won't disappoint anyone. Just keep doing what's right, and everything else will fall into place." The conversation lifted Lily's spirits, and for the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to feel the relief of just being in the moment. The next day, Lily was given the chance to speak at a prestigious law conference in Washington, D.C. The event was a gathering of the brightest legal minds, and Lily had been invited to speak on a panel about fairness in the justice system. It was an opportunity many dreamed of, but Lily wasn't just there to speak. She was there to challenge the system from the inside. The morning of the conference, Lily stood before a mirror in the hotel room, adjusting her suit and smoothing her hair. She took a deep breath and reminded herself that she belonged here. This wasn't a fluke. She had earned this place. As she walked onto the stage, the room filled with curious glances. Her presence was a stark contrast to the other panelists, veteran lawyers with decades of experience. But Lily's voice was steady as she spoke. The justice system was never meant to be a game played by the wealthy and powerful. It was meant to serve all people, regardless of their status. We must always strive for a system that listens to the voices that are often silenced. Her words resonated with the audience. There was a collective sense of agreement, and for the first time, Lily realized that she was no longer the young girl trying to prove herself. She was now a leader in her own right, someone who had the power to influence change. The panel ended with a standing ovation, and as Lily stepped down from the stage, she felt a surge of pride. This was more than just recognition. It was a call to action. The road ahead would not be easy, but Lily knew that she had the strength to continue fighting for what was right. As she returned to her hotel room that evening, she couldn't help but think of her mother. Everything she had achieved, every victory she had secured, was for her. Her journey was far from over, but Lily had already proven that even the most unlikely of voices could shake the foundations of power and bring about real change. As the days passed, Lily's influence continued to grow, and so did the weight of her responsibilities. The law firm had become her second home, and her once quiet life had now turned into a whirlwind of cases, meetings, and public appearances. But despite the exhaustion, Lily knew she was doing something important. She was breaking barriers, challenging the status quo, and paving the way for a more just and fair system. Yet there was always that nagging feeling in the back of her mind, the feeling that she was still proving herself. People still saw her as the maid's daughter, as the girl who had risen from nothing. She wasn't just a lawyer. She was a symbol, and that came with its own set of pressures. The more she succeeded, the higher the expectations became. It wasn't just about winning cases anymore. It was about showing that someone from her background could not only compete, but could excel in a world that had once been closed off to her. One evening, as Lily sat in her office reviewing case files, she received an unexpected phone call. It was from her mother. Lily, her mother's voice trembled. Something's happened. The urgency in her voice sent a wave of panic through Lily. What's wrong, Mom? She asked, standing up from her desk. It's your old neighborhood. There's been an incident. They're saying that your old school is going to be torn down to make way for new developments. They want to displace everyone. Lily's heart sank. Her old school, the place where she had spent countless hours studying, the place where she had dreamed of a better future, was about to be torn down. It was more than just a building. It was a symbol of where she had come from and how far she had come. Without hesitation, Lily gathered her things and rushed to her mother's side. As she arrived at the neighborhood, she was met with a sight she had never imagined. The community that had once been her home, where everyone knew each other and supported one another, was now filled with anger and uncertainty. The residents were protesting the development, but their voices seemed to go unheard. Lily knew she had to act. She immediately contacted the local news and rallied a group of lawyers from her firm. Together, they began to research the legal ramifications of the project. Lily's mind raced as she thought about how to stop this from happening. She had fought for justice before, but this was different. This wasn't just a case in a courtroom. It was about protecting the very community that had shaped her. The next day, Lily stood in front of a crowd of angry residents, her voice steady and powerful. This neighborhood, this school, they are part of who we are. We can't let this happen, she declared. Her words resonated with the crowd, and for the first time, they felt like they were being heard. Lily took charge of the protest, leading the community in a series of legal actions to halt the demolition. She filed an injunction to temporarily stop the construction, and with the help of her firm, she brought the case to court. The battle was long and grueling, but Lily's determination never wavered. She knew this was more than just a fight for one school. It was a fight for the heart and soul of her community. In the end, after weeks of intense legal battles, the court ruled in favor of the residents. The development project was halted, and the community was able to save their school. As Lily stood in front of the building, watching the residents celebrate, she felt a deep sense of pride. She had not only protected the place that had shaped her, but she had also shown everyone that justice could be fought for, even when the odds seemed impossible. For Lily, this victory was more than just another legal triumph. It was a reminder that no matter how far she had come, she would never forget where she came from. And as she looked out at the faces of the people she had helped, she knew that this was just the beginning of a much larger journey. The victory in saving the school was only the beginning for Lily. It solidified her place as a true force in the legal world, but it also brought with it an entirely new set of challenges. As the community rallied around her, so did the media. Lily was no longer just the maid's daughter who had once been overlooked. She was now a symbol of hope and change. But with this new recognition came the pressure of maintaining her image. People expected her to continue fighting for the underdog, to keep taking on the cases that no one else would touch. And Lily felt that weight every day. She knew she couldn't let anyone down. But despite her newfound success, Lily never lost sight of her core belief. Justice was not about the spotlight. It was about making a difference. Soon, another case came to her, this one even more complex than the last. It involved a major corporation accused of exploiting migrant workers in a series of unethical labor practices. The case had the potential to be groundbreaking, but it was also dangerous. The corporation was powerful, with the resources to fight back in ways that could ruin Lily's career before it even truly began. But Lily knew this was the kind of fight she couldn't walk away from. It was a battle for the vulnerable, for those who had no voice, and for the rights of people who were often invisible to society. As Lily worked tirelessly on the case, she found herself facing obstacles at every turn. The legal team she had assembled was strong, but the corporation's lawyers were ruthless. They threw every trick in the book at her, attempting to discredit her and her team. They questioned her credentials, her background, even her integrity. There were days when Lily wondered if she had made a mistake. The pressure was enormous, and the fight felt endless. But her mother's voice echoed in her mind. "Keep going, Lily. You've already done the impossible before." The words gave her strength. She wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for everyone who had ever been overlooked, for everyone who had ever been told they didn't matter. Late one night, as Lily sat at her desk going through endless pages of evidence, she stumbled upon something. It was a document buried deep in the corporation's records, a piece of evidence they had failed to hide properly. It was the smoking gun. Lily knew that this was the key to breaking the case wide open. The next day, she presented the evidence in court, her voice steady and confident. The defense tried to dismiss it, but Lily had already anticipated their objections. With a few simple words, she shut them down. "This document proves everything," she said. "This corporation knew exactly what they were doing, and they did it anyway." The room fell silent as the evidence was reviewed. For the first time, it became clear that the corporation had been caught red-handed. The case was ultimately won, and the workers received compensation, but more importantly, the corporation was forced to change its practices. The victory was sweet, but it came at a cost. The legal battle had drained Lily emotionally and physically, but as she sat with her mother after the case was over, she realized something. The long hours, the sleepless nights, the constant pressure, it had all been worth it. She had made a real difference, and she knew that this was only the beginning of her journey. There would be more cases, more challenges, and more battles to fight. But Lily was ready. She had proven to herself, and to the world, that one person could stand up to the powerful, and that justice could be achieved, no matter the odds. After the victory against the corporation, Lily became a household name. Her face was in the newspapers, and news outlets sought her opinions on matters of justice, fairness, and equality. It was a whirlwind of attention that, while flattering, began to feel overwhelming. The public now expected her to be a symbol of hope and progress, something that was starting to weigh heavily on her shoulders. But no matter how busy she became, Lily never let go of what had started her journey, the desire to make a real difference. Her mother continued to be her grounding force, always reminding her to stay true to her roots and never forget why she started. "Lily, it's not about the fame," her mother would say. "It's about the work. It's about helping the people who need it most." Lily took those words to heart. She knew that her journey had only just begun. It wasn't long before she was presented with another challenge. This time, it was a case that felt more personal than anything she had faced before. A friend from her childhood, Maria, had been wrongly accused of a crime she didn't commit. Maria had always been kind, a bright student with a promising future, until she became a victim of the system. The accusations were based on a false witness statement, and the evidence against her was flimsy at best. Maria's family didn't have the money to afford a proper defense, and the odds were stacked against them. But Lily couldn't let this injustice stand. She knew the power of the legal system, and she was determined to use it to free her friend. Maria's case was different. It was personal. Lily had known Maria's family for years, had seen Maria grow up, and now she was fighting not just for a stranger, but for someone who had been there for her when she had nothing. Lily immediately took on the case, diving into the details, speaking with witnesses, and re-examining the evidence with a critical eye. It was exhausting, mentally and emotionally draining, but Lily pushed through. As the case went on, she uncovered more inconsistencies in the prosecution's story. There were multiple contradictions in the testimony, and key evidence had been ignored or misinterpreted. It became clear that Maria had been framed. The pressure was immense. The district attorney's office was known for being tough, and they weren't going to let go of a high-profile case so easily. But Lily wasn't intimidated. She fought tirelessly, presenting the new evidence to the court, cross-examining the witnesses, and exposing the flaws in the prosecution's case. The turning point came when Lily uncovered a crucial piece of evidence, a surveillance video that had been overlooked during the initial investigation. The video clearly showed Maria's innocence, proving that she was nowhere near the scene of the crime when it happened. The defense presented the video in court, and it changed everything. The jury deliberated for only a short time before delivering a verdict of not guilty. Maria was free. The courtroom erupted in applause, and Maria ran to Lily, tears streaming down her face. "I don't know how to thank you," Maria whispered, holding Lily tightly. "You saved my life." Lily, too, was overwhelmed with emotion, but she simply replied, "You don't have to thank me. This is what justice looks like." As the case closed, Lily felt a deep sense of satisfaction, not because of the recognition, but because she had done the right thing. She had taken on a personal fight and won, not for herself, but for someone who truly needed her help. That night, as she sat with her mother, Lily reflected on everything she had achieved. She had fought battles for strangers, but this one had been for a friend. It was a reminder that her work was far from over, that there were still many people out there who needed someone to stand up for them. And that's exactly what she planned to do. The case with Maria had been a turning point for Lily. It was not just another victory. It was a reminder of why she had chosen this path. The gratitude in Maria's eyes had reinforced Lily's belief that she was doing the right thing. As she sat quietly in her office after the case was over, she realized that no matter how many cases she won, the work would never be finished. There would always be more people to help, more injustices to fight. She had started this journey to make a difference, and now, she truly understood the weight of that commitment. As Lily's career continued to flourish, she was presented with more opportunities than she had ever dreamed of. Yet, with each new challenge came the realization that the world of law and justice was not as simple as it seemed. For every victory, there were countless people still waiting for their chance, still waiting for someone to fight for them. Despite the accolades, the public appearances, and the growing recognition, Lily remained deeply grounded. Her mother's words echoed in her mind every day. "Do what's right, and everything else will follow." That advice had guided her through every obstacle, and it would continue to do so. The journey had not been easy. There were sleepless nights, moments of self-doubt, and times when the weight of it all seemed unbearable. But Lily had learned one important truth. She was never alone. With her mother by her side, and a growing network of people who believed in her mission, she knew that she could continue to make a difference. One morning, as Lily prepared for yet another high-profile case, she received a letter. It was from a young woman who had recently graduated from law school. The letter was filled with gratitude and admiration for Lily's work. "You are the reason I decided to pursue law," the letter said. "Your courage and commitment to justice have inspired me to stand up for the voiceless. I hope one day to follow in your footsteps." Lily sat there for a moment, reflecting on the power of her journey. She had become a role model for people she had never met, a beacon of hope for those who believed that their voices would never be heard. The letter was a reminder that the impact of her work reached far beyond the courtroom. It had the power to inspire a new generation of advocates. As she placed the letter in a drawer, Lily felt a renewed sense of purpose. She had come so far, but there was still so much to be done. She wasn't just fighting for justice in the courtroom. She was fighting to change the world. And she knew that no matter how long it took, she would never stop. The story of Lily, the maid's daughter turned brilliant attorney, had only just begun. The battles ahead would be even more challenging, but Lily was ready. She had the heart, the strength, and the knowledge to keep going. Because for Lily, justice was not a destination, it was a lifelong mission. And with every victory, no matter how small, she would continue to fight for a world where everyone's voice could be heard, where no one would ever have to feel powerless again. In this inspiring tale of overcoming adversity, we follow the incredible journey of a young girl who rises from humble beginnings to become a brilliant attorney, challenging the very system that once seemed beyond her reach. From her first bold steps in a courtroom to her victorious moments in high-stakes legal battles, her story resonates with the power of determination, knowledge, and courage. This narrative mirrors many other millionaire stories, where individuals defy the odds and achieve greatness despite overwhelming challenges. As we dive deeper into her journey, we see how her rise from the maid's daughter to a recognized legal powerhouse becomes a testament to the idea that anyone, regardless of background, can change their fate. Much like many millionaire stories, it's not just about the wealth, but about the impact made on those who were once invisible in society. Throughout her experiences, she fights tirelessly for justice, whether it's helping a friend, taking on corporations, or standing up to the powerful figures who once overlooked her. Each victory she achieves serves as a reminder that the road to success isn't easy, but with the right mindset, anyone can create their own millionaire story. Her journey is filled with obstacles, from personal doubts to legal battles that threaten to undo everything she's worked for. Yet, her resilience and unwavering belief in doing what's right propel her forward, inspiring not just those in the courtroom, but future generations as well. This story, like countless other millionaire stories, is proof that with determination and a willingness to fight for others, anyone can break free from the limitations imposed on them by society. It is a story of courage, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of justice, where the true measure of success is not how much wealth you accumulate, but how many lives you touch along the way. If you've ever wondered about the real stories behind millionaires, this tale of triumph over adversity is sure to inspire you to believe that anything is possible. Her journey isn't just about becoming wealthy. It's about leaving a legacy that shows others that the impossible is within reach, just like in many of the millionaire stories we hear about today.